Good morning and welcome, fellow nerds. It is I, the veteran of the 1,000 Psychic Wars. It is the OGGM broadcasting to you live from Site B at 11:40 in the morning on this 14th day of January 2023. The OGL end of the world continues. We have got yet another chapter in this ongoing nonsense that we're going on almost 2 weeks now of dealing with this and how it is, change. If you told me 3 weeks ago this would be a thing, I'd be like, yeah, I knew Wizards of the Coast was going to do something, but not this. But I knew Wizards of the Coast would do something. And these are all things they've done before. Let's just toss this out there because we're going to revisit that. And revisit a blog I made earlier in 2022 about maybe they're doing this all on purpose. So just think that everything that was happening today and yesterday are all variations of scripts Wizards of the Coast has played before. All right, finally, we have a response from Critical Role. I think the two biggies, when this was first leaked, and if we got to go down through the timeline again, which makes very little sense, remember we had a leak of what Wizards of the Coast was planning to do with OGL 1.1, and it was just awful. And the industry responded in an uproar far bigger than I think anybody would have ever expected. Then there was a second leak, an email that supposedly came from inside Wizards of the Coast. And that email was very damning, very, very insulting of what Wizards of the Coast thought about us. And then there was a contract that showed up in some creators' mailboxes 3 o'clock in the morning. The contract was written very immaturely, which led some to question the legitimacy of it, while others were like saying, yeah, that's totally how Wizards of the Coast talks, and that's how they think we think, so yeah. And then there was supposed to be a live stream. But we crashed the D&D Beyond server. Jeannie D and Nerd Immersion came forward, and several other prominent YouTubers came forward and said, no. And because of that, there was a mass exodus to cancel D&D Beyond. D&D Beyond lost $37,000 in profit because of that alone, so far as the number I'm hearing, which you maybe not a lot, but that's $37,000 in under an hour. So that's huge. Yeah. And the stockholders are very upset. So they were supposed to come forward and have a thing, and they didn't. They canceled it. They just sent the Twitch fairies in to erase it. Now, since this was announced, people were like, okay, Paizo, what are you going to do? Because if you look at the pyramid of OGL, Paizo has got to be on top. They are the most successful company who took the OGL way back and ran with it and, literally almost put Wizards of the Coast out of business during the 4th edition wars. You see me now, a veteran of the 4th edition wars. Remember that? Yeah. And the other one was everybody was wondering what Critical Role was going to do. Because let's face it, D&D right now would not exist, like them or not. Give the devil the due. Wizards would not exist as it is right now. D&D would not be as popular as it is right now if not for Stranger Things and Critical Role. Especially because of the pandemic and how much influence Critical Role had on the pandemic and just how much influence on the industry Critical Role has had over the past couple of years. 5e would not be 5e. So people are like, okay, what are Critical Role going to do? Because if Critical Role says we're sticking with them, then that's pretty much just like, I guess everybody's going to stick with them. And, what's the industry going to do? Because everybody's going to follow Critical Role because we want that sweet, sweet Critical Role money. But if Critical Role does what I've been predicting they would do for almost 3 years now, and that's make their own freaking game and cut their umbilical cord to Wizards of the Coast, that would be devastating because all the fan base and all that Amazon money would follow. And Jeannie D, who's technically Critical Role adjacent, has already made her statement known. Will she go back? I hope not. I hope she doesn't. I hope she's like, no, this is going to affect me. But you know what? I have no way of knowing how that woman thinks. So with Critical Role finally made a statement. Now, we'd already had the statement from all the various industries worldwide who said, no, we are done carrying your product. We are done associating with you, Wizards of the Coast. This OGL 1.1 is just devastating. We're going to make our own OGL. We're going to make our own game. And there was a lot of people like, yeah, make your own OGL, make your own system. And there are other people like, no, this is just going to be the 80s and the 90s all over again when we have 10,000 teeny little games, but no real big game for everybody to sort of unite in it. We need another GURPS. We need another Vampire the Masquerade. We need another Cyberpunk. We need another Pathfinder for everybody to unite against and go, look, Hasbro, we have a voice. And so a couple of days later, Paizo's like, all right, we heard you. Here we go. We are making this open resource thing. We're calling it OAK or ORC. And we're going to use it. Cobalt Press is going to use it. Green Ronin's going to use it. Evil Hat Games is going to use it. A lot of other companies are going to use it. So we're not going to own it. They're not going to own it. It's going to be owned by a third party. So anybody can use it, which is kind of what a lot of people wanted. But Paizo has some ill will out there. Not everybody looks at Paizo and goes, yeah, you're the second coming. Some people are going, yeah, you did the exact same things Wizards of the Coast did. You just didn't get as much news as they did. Especially in regards to, the unionization and how they handled the unionization, the changes of, jumping on the whole SJW. We're changing race to species thing. So in the past 24 hours, we have had the update on the Critical Role response, and we've had the update from Wizards of the Coast, which is just a 110% falsehood. But first, let us go to what Critical Role said. Now, again, remember, years ago, at least 2 years ago, I predicted that by 2024, Mercer and Company would make their own game and break off from Wizards of the Coast. And I got so attacked. They would never do that. They would never do that. They would never bite the hands that feed them. They would never do that. They made their own production company and they made their own publishing company. Why would they make their own publishing company? Well, to make their own stuff, which eventually would lead to them making their own game. No, they would never do that. Why wouldn't they? Nobody gave me a reason why wouldn't they, other than, they'd never bite the hand that feeds them. It makes 100% sense for them to eventually make their own game and have 100% control over their Critical Role. Because right now they're sharing money with Wizards of the Coast. And eventually they're going to be like, no, it's ours. We don't want you messing it up. So yeah, they made it a production. They made their own production company. They made their own publication company. And everybody was like, oh, this doesn't mean anything, OGGM. This doesn't mean anything. And I'm like, watch, they're going to make their own game. And what do you know? They did make their own game. Then they made another game. Then they wrote a book. Then they made another game. And now they've got projects coming down. And everybody was like, no, I still don't think so. Until this. Critical Role responded finally. And some people are saying their response says nothing. Other people are saying their response says bank. So let's read this response. Critical Role has always supported creators and game development in the tabletop space. We stand by our industry peers. Point number one. As well as anyone who takes the risk in creating a new system or developing an original idea. The beauty of gaming comes from the opportunity to share inclusive, God, I hate that word, diverse and compelling stories from a wide spectrum of creators. That's exactly why we launched our own game publishing company a few years ago, because we believe that broadening the field of creators boosts the entire industry. The success we have experienced is thanks to the passion and interest of the greater tabletop community, and we commit to fostering an environment that allows everyone the opportunity to easily share the stories they wish to tell. Notice the inflection on certain things. Now, a lot of people first said when this was posted, they're not saying anything. It's literally just a standard, hi, we're here, we're responding by not responding. There's nothing really, it's milquetoast. There's nothing really core to this other than just a standard general kind of, hey, we care. But Upon seconds and third readings, some people are looking at the wording. Some people smarter than me are going, wait, there's some lines in there. Like, we stand by our industry peers. Now, I should remind everybody who hasn't been following the story 110%, almost every one of the tweets that has come out of the industry regarding the OGL nonsense received some form of like from somebody from in Critical Role. Mercer on his own personal Twitter and his own personal Reddit and his own personal Facebook and his own personal YouTube. You go back and look at a lot of these letters and a lot of these notes and a lot of these stories and a lot of these videos. Mercer, happy face, check, approve, smile, check, agree. Marissa, Laura, Travis, several others have reached out, or Critical Role has reached out and just no comments. But yes, I agree. Yes, this is a good idea. Smile. We stand by our industry peers. The beauty comes from inclusive. See, there's already some issues over that morality clause because OGL 2.0 still has the morality clause, and it's looking like the ORC from Pathfinder is going to have that morality clause. And you can't have the morality clause. I mean, you can't say we're totally, open and inclusive and then get mad at somebody because they posted Critical Role erotica and have Wizards of the Coast say, oh, that goes against, you showed nasty parts. So yeah, you can't have Critical Role erotica, but we support inclusivism. This is exactly why we launched our own game company a few years ago. Why would they bring this up? Why is this important? This is not important. This is not important to say we see you, unless, of course, they're sort of planting in the back of your heads that subtle little suggestion. We have our own production company. We have our own publishing company. We want to broaden the field and boost the industry. They could have just towed the Wizards of the Coast line, but they didn't. They remained very neutral. They said something without saying anything. But in the not saying anything, they may have hinted, a lot of people are saying they're hinting that they're going to make their own. Okay, well, why didn't they just come out and say it? Well, because they are each individual associated with Critical Role is tied up into contracts with D&D Beyond and Wizards and companies that have ties to Wizards. Critical Role as a whole is tied up in contracts with D&D Beyond and Wizards and stuff like that. Mercer and Marisha have contracts, plus there's an NDA that they had to sign every year in regards to Critical Role and D&D Beyond and the product they make. But of course, I was told by at least one individual that NDA ended on the 4th of January. Don't know if that is true, so do not quote me on that. But I do have at least one person who said, no, the NDA is over. They could say stuff. But probably the reason why they haven't come out and said anything 100%, this is what we mean, is first, they're still legally bound by contracts. And second, well, there's nothing really to respond to because we still haven't seen an official OGL from Wizards of the Coast. We have seen leaks from Wizards of the Coast. We have seen emails, none of which have been approved, none of which have been confirmed. The original leak that showed up in the Gizmodo article, nobody knows where that came from. The mysterious email, nobody knows where that came from. Then there's some people who claiming that they got their hands on the actual OGL 2.0, but they're not saying where they got it, and it's been gone over by lawyers, and they're like, wait, no. Now, what is we talking about? Because after we crashed D&D Beyond, yes, after we got even Genie D to go, wait, no, and pretty much with the exception of 2 or 3 people, nobody is saying this is a good thing. Nobody is for this. But the worry is that Wizards of the Coast will backtrack. They will throw up some smoke and mirrors. They'll misplace some blame. They'll come up with a apology, and then they'll wait and count on the fact that the gaming community forgets. Plus, they've done this before. And I talked about this several months ago. And people were like, no, they're not that insidious. No, that's stupid. Why would they do that? But they've done this before. And I was listening to Max and Company last night on Legion of Myth. And Max mentioned that somebody mentioned that this is something we've seen Wizards of the Coast do time and time again. They release a product. The product receives nothing but bad press. They pull the product back. They apologize. They say they're going to address the situation. Oh, you're offended by Space Monkeys? Oh, you're offended by how we wrote Radiant Citadel? Oh, you're offended by our new Ravenloft? Okay, we're sorry. We're going to take it back. We're going to address the problems you had, and we're going to release a brand new one for you to buy with all the things that you complained about fixed. Then they did it again. Oh, you're upset about Radiant Citadel. You're upset about Space Monkeys. Tell you what, we'll bring it all back. We'll reprint it. We'll fix it. We'll put it back out there. And remember, we're giving you what you asked for. And here you go. Now you have to buy it again. So this is standard Wizards of the Coast. People are like, that's stupid. That's horrible, backwards thinking stuff. But is it? Because it happens time and time again. Wizards of the Coast puts something out there to test the waters. It receives nothing but, bad responses from some part of the industry. They take it back, they apologize, and then they republish it. And you have to buy it again. Well, that's new, except if you go all the way back, day one, week one, month one, year one. Here, we just bought Dungeons & Dragons. Here is Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition. Oh, there's some spelling mistakes and some editing mistakes in Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition. We know you've already all bought the books and several adventures. I don't know how we missed it. We could, A, make a free errata available to you with the fixes, or B, completely redo the game and have you buy all the books all over again. Which do you think they did? Well, according to my bookshelf, they did Dungeons & Dragons 3.5. So throwing out the OGL and then going, oh, we're sorry. Let's take that back, fix it. Here's the new one. Now, we don't know where the leak came from. We don't know where the email came from. We don't know where that weird contract came from. Wizards of the Coast has already denied that contract. Instead, Wizards of the Coast gave us an apology that isn't an apology. Are you ready? Oh, it's Mar Hockman, my nemesis. Yes, I mean, well, yeah, with deals Wizards of the Coast are offering. They're probably offering Mercer a deal. They're probably offering Gale Force 9 and some of the miniature companies a deal. They're probably even going to offer Jeannie D a deal. And then, if she kowtows, would be sad, but it wouldn't be. She's definitely towed the company line before, which is why I was surprised when I was told she was one of the ones who said boycott D&D Beyond. All right, are you ready for this? Here is the update on the open game license from OGL that was published 1 day ago. Unfortunately, right after this was published, Nerd Immersion and RPG Lawyer and a couple other sites claim that they have their hands on the actual OGL license that was supposed to go live on Thursday. And it pretty much contradicts everything they say here. And that everything they say here has already been shown to be a lie. When we initially conceived revising the OGO, it was with 3 major goals in mind. First, we wanted the ability to prevent the use of D&D content from being included in hateful and discriminatory products. So there's that morality clause. There's that if you do anything anybody finds offensive in any way, shape, or form, we can come after you and make you get rid of it. Oh, all that Critical Role, all that D&D, all that Jeannie D erotica and fan fiction and art and stuff. If there's something in it anybody finds no, we can shut it down because it's morally. So, if there's somebody online who's talking smack about me, I could technically go, hey, I am offended by this individual who's talking smack about me, Wizards of the Coast. Shut them down. Or you're a hypocrite. Yeah, but they're basically saying anything anybody might find offensive or we think is offensive, we can go after because it's morally wrong. Who are you to judge the morals of the gaming industry? Second, we wanted to address those attempting to use D&D and Web3 blockchain games and NFTs by making clear that the OGL's content is limited to tabletop role-playing game contents like campaigns, modules, and supplements. One, that's not how blockchain mining works. And two, that is a total lie because Hasbro's announced that for the 30th anniversary, they are making Power Ranger NFTs and Transformer NFTs for the new series. And there are already tons of My Little Pony NFTs floating around there. So for them to say we're changing the writing of the contract because it's going to affect NFTs and data mining and blockchains, A, that's not how data mining works. And B, that's a lie because Hasbro has announced Power Rangers, Transformers, and My Little Pony NFTs. And there already have been My Little Pony NFTs floating around for as long as there's been NFTs. So yeah. Second, driving these goals were two simple principles. One, our job is to be good stewards of the game. No, you say both in the leaked email and in the new contract that people claiming that was what you were supposed to put up Thursday, your number one job is to make money and address the bottom line. Okay, well, yeah, that's literally the job of every company. At the end of the day, every organization in existence that makes money, its bottom line is to make money. It's just the way they're doing it, They're saying, and of course, the whole thing about we're monitoring based upon D&D Beyond. We're monitoring the money. It's all about us for the money. CEO, Wizards of the Coast, comes out and says, even though there's over 5 million people at any given time playing D&D, even though D&D is more popular now than ever, we're not making enough money. It's under monetized. We need it to make more money. We need to monetize it more. So they've made it very clear. Their number one concern is to have D&D make money. The OGL exists for the benefits of the fan. No, the OGL originally existed to, one, protect Wizards of the Coast, two, to let other people create content for the Wizards of the Coast. And the OGL has remained unchanged for 20 some odd years. And you've never said anything about it, Wizards of the Coast, except, of course, what the writing in the original OGL, which has already been proven to be standing. Several lawyers have gone over it and said, you don't have a case. Paizo has said, Cobalt Games has said, several other people have said they are willing to take Wizards of the Coast over this, and they are 75 to 90% sure they would win. Wizards of the Coast doesn't have a case. Also, the Federal Trade Commission has been contacted because of the writing of the OGL establishes a monopoly and violates basic United States copyright law. In fact, the story is so big, we were on CNBC. Us, a bunch of geeks, were a story on NBC. That is why our earlier drafts of the new OGL included the provisions they did. They weren't a draft because they were legally binding, they had contracts attached, and they had places for you to sign things. The thing that people received at 3 o'clock in the morning that day was a legally binding contract, even though it was written by a 5-year-old, which had spaces to sign, had the stamp from Wizards of the Coast Legal, was dated, was notarized. So yeah, that wasn't a draft. That was a thing. And the OGL that people are claiming they got their hands on after Thursday, that was taken down Thursday after we crashed D&D Beyond, that's legally binding. It has everything on there, including a space to be signed and the notary. If it was a draft, why would it have that? Let's see if we've got any comments. I think Hasbro likes NFTs. They just don't want an open license to allow them. Well, that's not what they're saying. They're saying we don't want anybody to be able to data mine OGL for NFTs. Oh, by the way, we just released Power Ranger NFTs. No, that's a lie. The draft language provided to content creators and publishers, though their feedback could be considered before anything was finalized, except at no point in time did you take credit for this. Until this was posted, Wizards of the Coast, D&D Beyond has not said, yes, we leaked the thing that Gizmodo got their hands on. Yes, we leaked all the other stuff. Yes, we leaked the email. yes, that contract that everybody got was legally binding as much from us. So this is the first time they're coming forward and saying, hey, in addition to language allowing us to address discriminatory and hateful content and clarifying what types of product the OGL covers, our drafts included royalty languages designed to apply to large corporations attempting to use the OGL content. It was never intended to impact the vast majority of community. Again, a lie. The writing is very clear about the percentages and about we own everything. However, it's clear from our reaction that we rolled a 1. Ha ha ha, we're Wizards of the Coast. Look at us, we're cute. It has become clear there's no longer possibility to fully achieve all 3 goals while still staying true to our principle. So here's what we're doing. We're renaming it OGL 2.0 and we're delaying it a couple months while we throw a bunch of bright, flashy things in your eyes in the hopes that you'll forget what we just did. The next OGL will contain the provisions that allow us to protect and cultivate an inclusive environment we are trying to build, and specifically covers the content of the tabletop role-playing game. Again, inclusive. Again, they are basing that entire thing on that morality clause. They are basing the entire thing on, look, here are space monkeys. Oh no, Daniel Kwan and Connie Chang and these other people found the space monkeys racist. We're going to take it back because you were morally offended, and we're going to redo it and put it back out, and you have to buy it again. Oh, we found some Critical Role fan art that shows Jester's boobies. Well, we're going to take that down, and we're going to order you to remove it, but any money you made off of it is ours. Oh, here's a song Jeannie D recorded about the mating rituals or the love affair between her characters in the game. Well, that's a no-no song. We're taking it down. We also want the money. Anything Wizards of the Coast can claim as offensive, they're going to take down under this. This basically means they can claim anything anybody makes offensive. The means that other expressions such as educational and charitable campaigns, live streams, cosplays, VTT, etc., remain unaffected by any OGL update. That's the please forgive us, Jessica Nagiri, and please forgive us, Jeannie D. You can still do your cosplays, except unless, of course, we find them offensive, then you can't. So sorry, Jessica, you can't show the boobies anymore. And of course, the leaked one again says, no, only we get to make money off of D&D. What it will not contain is any royalty structure? That's not true. It will also not include the licensing back provision that some people were afraid of meant for us to steal work. That's not true. That is low. That thought never crossed our minds. That is 100% not true. All you have to do is go and look at the contract for the most recent thing, the D&D Lego contest, or any of the contests that they do on DM's Guild. And right there in every contract, the second you submit anything to Dungeons and Dragons, it becomes their property. And that has been true for at least 4 years. You release and they don't have to print it. They don't have to pay you for it. It becomes theirs. You can never use it again. That is not new. So for them to say, well, we never made that, that is, if nothing else in here is bullshit. If I'm completely wrong on everything else, which is possibly true because A, I'm not a lawyer, and B, I'm an idiot. Warning, this is not legally binding. Do not take anything I'm saying as advice. If you have any questions about what's going on, please consult an actual lawyer or anybody who's actually smarter than me, which pretty much is everybody. Any content? Well, yeah. I mean, they can make NFTs off of Power Rangers, but you can't. But then, of course, they're not saying that. They're not saying only we can make NFTs. They're saying we don't want anybody to be able to blockchain mine our stuff unless it's us. Any language we put down will be crystal clear and unequivocal on the point. Yeah, we read that one that you came out, that letter, that contract. The license back language was intended to project us and our partners from creators who incoherently allege that we steal their work simply because of coincidences and similarities. No. Again, we can go back to the Eberron contest. We can go back to the Lego contest again. It's like once it's ours, it's ours. You don't get it back. You can never use it again. We don't have to pay you for it. As we continue to invest in the game that we love and move forward with the partnership in film, television, and digital games, the risk is simply too great to ignore. The new OGL will contain provisions to address that risk, but we'll do so without a license back and without suggesting we have the rights to the content you create, except, of course, every contract you write does. Your ideas and imaginations are what make this game special, and this belongs to you. Smoke and mirrors. We're sorry. That isn't what we mean. Let's misplace the blame on somebody else. We're not blaming you. We're not blaming us. We're blaming data miners. We're playing video games. We're blaming Paizo for making too much money. We're blaming Green Ronin for taking too much money. We're blaming all those OGL games that got nominated for Game of the Year, Content of the Year, Writer of the Year, all those OGL games that won prizes and influenced the industry and have been hacked. It's their fault. We never intended for them to make money off of the project. We never intended for them to use the OGL. That was never what the OGL was for. Celesta, Crown of the Thing. No, that was never what the OGL. No. I don't know how for the past 20 some odd years we missed all that happening, but I guess we were too busy dealing with all you people who got upset about Space Monkeys. But apparently lots of other companies made money off of our product, like big money. And like lots of other companies won awards, and that we never intended that because we want to protect you. We want to protect our D&D. Of course, we're not going to be able to release the new OGL today because we make sure it gets it right, but it's coming. And we're going to change it with enough fluffy words that you're going to go, oh, this is not so bad, which takes us back to what Max said yesterday and what I said months ago. What if Wizards of the Coast is doing this all on purpose? What if this is part of some Machiavellian plan? And people's, of course, responses were, they're not that smart, and that's not how it works. Nobody would do a campaign that's this self-destructive, except they've been doing this since 3rd edition. They suffer the slings and arrows. They take the insults. They take the attacks because they know within a few weeks, we'll forget about it and we'll move on to being angry about something else. I mean, when was the last time you heard about Strixhaven? Or even has Spelljammer come up in a conversation in the last month? Has anybody said anything other than the initial complaints about Dragonlance since Dragonlance came out? No, because Wizards of the Coast doesn't advertise the stuff or support it once it's out. And 2, they just wait. They sit and they wait and they say nothing. They wait for the complaints and then they go, oh, we're sorry. That's not what we meant. Going forward, we understand our plan was always to solicit the input of our community before any update to our product. Oh, we did what you asked for. Here, let us take it back. We're going to refix it. We're going to re-release it. Brand new, extended Beatles and Grimm new artwork edition that you're going to have to buy again. So what if this is exactly what Wizards of the Coast wanted? Now, I don't think anybody could have expected the entire industry to unite like the way they had. But let's face it, the world has changed in the last 2 years, / in the last 5 years, / in the last 10 years. 20 years ago, when Wizards of the Coast did this the first time, there wasn't really anybody way to communicate. We didn't have the internet like we have now. 100 years ago, when they did 3 to 3.5, that was all word of mouth. You know, and magazine articles, and nobody really understood what was going on. We just knew we had to buy it all over again. Until later on when it was like, oh, there were some mistakes. And when we start finding out why we had to buy 3 all over again at 3.5, I think to the man, everybody went, why did I have to buy this again? You could have just made the errata free. Now, nowadays, you just put that errata on the web, but back then you would just be send us a self-addressed stamped envelope and we'll send you the errata for free. Or visit your local game store and they will have the errata. Or write us and we'll send it back to you. Or it's on the boards or whatever, you know, on the Wizards of the Coast MySpace. But they didn't. They made a brand new game. So what if What if the OGL leak was not a leak? What if that was them testing the waters? And now it blew up in their face, way bigger than I think anybody expected. I don't think anybody expected Pezzo to rise up and go, no. I'm sure as God don't think anybody expected Jeannie D to go, no. And I don't know if people expected I think people expected Mercer to say something. And a lot of people were disappointed in his thing, even though if you read his thing again, you could insinuate there are some hints in there that they are supporting us without actually saying they support us. And that they are going to make their game. I've tossed it out there 2 years ago. People got angry at me. I'm tossing it out again. Before this is over, they'll announce their own game. Somebody even said, well, maybe that's why they're killing so many important characters in Exandria in the current storyline and so many gods. So anything that has any connection to D&D won't be there anymore. Because apparently, I don't know, I haven't watched the show in a while. But apparently they're killing gods, but it's the gods that have some connection to D&D gods? Maybe? I don't know. What does that mean? Anyways, that's the letter. I posted a link down below if you want to ring it yourself. It is I'm wondering just what Crit will actually do going forwards. Well, there's only two possible things they can do. Mercer, yes. I mean, Critical Role stopped being D&D a while ago, other than they roll dice and they use character classes, but it's basically his homebrew. I mean, it's and the world he's created could be run under any fantasy system. Everybody forgets that he started with Pathfinder. And he was Pathfinder boy for a while until that D&D money came along. There's only two things they can do. And one is more likely for the reason I have said. They can say, yes, we will sign another contract with Wizards of the Coast. We are okay with OGL 2.0. This will piss off a bunch of people. But those are probably people who aren't really Critical Role fans anyways. I mean, like, it'd piss me off. Oh, God damn you, Mercer. You did exactly what I thought you'd do. You sold your soul again to Wizards of the Coast. And, they would do that because they don't think it really upset anybody. Or, more likely, something I've been saying for 2 years now, they will cut that Wizards of the Coast umbilical cord and make their own game. Why would they do that? Well, they already have their own production company. They already have their own printing company. Why would they have started their own printing company if they weren't planning on making their own stuff? 2, and more importantly, by making their own game, they have 100% control of their IP. All the likenesses, all the games, all the publications, and most importantly, all the merchandise. They cut that umbilical cord. They make sure that 99% of all that merchandising money goes into their pockets. They pull a George Lucas. They say, you know what? We just want the merchandising money. So, yeah, it's more likely that they would go. Mercer caved the outrage mob when it was the Wendy's thing, so hard to say for sure. See, again, and I showed this yesterday. Let's go. I was talking about this. Critical Role. Okay, so here's on Etsy. These are all businesses that were started by the Critical Role fan base to show their love for Critical Role. All these people make money, and for some of them, this is their entire source of income. Others, it's a side gig. These are all people who make money in some way or another off of Critical Role because Critical Role lets them, and the OGL till now let them. If the OGL prints the way we believe it's going to print, all these people are going to lose that money. The Critical Role fan base, if Critical Role goes to OGL 2.0, will be unbelievably affected, because this is money and love and passion that they have poured into Critical Role, and Critical Role basically says, "Fuck you, we're taking that Wizards of the Coast money." I don't see them doing it. I don't see them. I can't think of any reason why they would turn their back on their fans, because that choice would affect every one of these people, costing them hundreds, thousands of dollars, thousands of jobs all over the world would be affected if they agreed and they said all our product now falls under the OGL 1.1. So like if this person right here makes some, Wizards of the Coast Critical Role fanfic about the honeymoon of I don't know Critical Role characters other than Jester and the ones I saw in the cartoon. So that time when Scanlan and Mixie Pix were alone and they got stoned on the Scanlan's and the next thing you know, there was a little going on, and or here's a picture of Keyleth, and she's wearing a bikini. Oh, well, we can't do that anymore because it's offensive. It goes against the new morality thing. Here's here's a body song about that time this guy, went out and did things and mooned the king. Oh, you can't. Yep, no, you can't do that anymore because it falls under our morality thing. So no more erotica, no more fanfic, no more pictures of Jester's boobies, none of that. Oh, and Jessica Nagiri, when you cosplay as Drizzt and you do your man for woman, and we can see your rather ample. Well, no, you can't do that anymore because A, we find it a no-no, and B, we control the image of Drizzt. So I would be unbelievably surprised if they towed the line and signed 2.0. It makes no sense for Mercer and Company to sign 2.0 and to not why would you hand over the keys to the gold mine to someone else for a percentage of the gold coming out of the mine? You're in the position to make demands. And it is in the industry. You have to, at some point in time, gain 100% control of your IP and your license. And if you want to forget all that other crap and just say, OGGM, you don't know what you're talking about. Well, there is one thing that is true, and you cannot say it is not. And that is syndication. And if Mercer and Company control 100% of the IP, when they decide, let's take all the previous episodes of all previous campaigns and put them into syndication, that syndication money goes 100% to them. Now, how much money does a syndicated TV show make? A syndicated TV show makes $15 every time it's run. So every time an I Love Lucy episode is run, Lucy's estate makes $15. At any point in time, anywhere in the world, there are at least 10 to 65 I Love Lucy episodes in rotation. That means at any point in time, anywhere in the world, the I Love Lucy estate is making anywhere from $15 to a couple $1,000 every hour of every day. So if Critical Role gains 100% control, they can have 100% control of the syndication rights. And, that's 100% profit. That's 100% profit. That's money in their bank forever. That's money for their kids, their grandkids. You cannot give me a reason that they would stay other than if Wizards of the Coast said, we give you 90% of any money you make we make off of Critical Role going forward. Backwards, intuity, forever, ironclad, which means 30 years from now, we can't take it back. Plus you get 90% of all the merchandising money, and you have you have 100% control over the syndication of the animated cartoon and a future syndication of any project made based upon complete control of all merchandising, complete control of all licensing, complete control syndication. Then that is the only deal that they could offer Critical Role for Mercer to go, yeah, I'll say, fuck my fan base. But I don't know. I mean, that fan base can get really toxic. We know it. So for them, for him to do something that devastating to the fan base, the way they would respond, I mean, we know they'd get death threats. We know there'd be people who would say, I'm going to kill myself. I mean, I mean, it's just that fan base gets ugly. Syndication is outdated at this point. Sure. Turn on any public television shows, channel, any point in the world at any point in time that isn't cable, like Channel 7. Some show is in syndication, whether it been Lucy, whether it been CIS, whether it be NCIS, whether it be Gilligan, Bugs Bunny, always in syndication, always, I mean, there's an entire Mystery Science Theater 3000 channel. Did you know that? That all they do is show syndication of Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes, and Joel's just sitting back in his house in Studio City going, thank you for the money. Thank you for the money. Thank you for the money. I'm going to go to a convention now. Thank you for the money. Star Trek. Always in syndication somewhere. All right. That is almost an hour of me talking about this nonsense. Who's exhausted? I am. So in closing, we got the response from Critical Role. It wasn't the response we wanted, but it's a response, and it may hint or it may not at things. We gotta, don't blame us, misdirection. We're sorry. That's not what we meant to say. We're not going to say anything else for a while from Critical Role, from Wizards of the Coast, the day after they canceled the live stream, where I toss out the possible tinfoil hat conspiracy that this is all part of the plan. They've done it before, and it's sort of worked. Why would they? That's stupid. Why would they use it? Yeah, well, is it? And we have looked at what they said, and we have then also looked at the document that was supposedly released from them Thursday. The document that was supposedly supposed to be what they were going to post before we crashed D&D Beyond. But I don't know how legitimate that is, but I can tell you just from what I do know of the contracts Wizards of the Coast has established before, that's bullshit. So we will see a fluffier new version of OGL 2.0, probably sometimes after we get the sales reports from Tales from the Golden Key or whatever the next one is, their heist thing. Because they're going to start, toting that now. Look at this. Here, look at this new shiny thing. Don't talk about that other thing. Let's only talk about Tales from the Golden Key, and then there'll be whatever. The latest episode of the Connie Chang I'm Offended By show, where she's like, the use of keys in a heist is discriminatory because that's saying that women can't open a door on their own. Oh, and Daniel Kahn will be like, I think we need to move past the use of the word heist because that's a derogatory comment or whatever else these idiots, complain about to get attention. And then sometime after Tales from the Golden Key, but before the Fendelin book, we will see the first draft of 2.0, which will be probably at least 30 pages, 10 of it fluff, and the rest of it just like, oh, well, here's what we're saying. But plus, they've established the fact that even though the contract says irrevocable forever, they can come and say, oh, it's not. We're writing a new one, which makes the older one pointless, and we can do that because reasons, even though it won't stand up in a court of law, according to multiple attorneys. And basically, Wizards of the Coast's defense is we didn't know people were using it. That's never what we intended the OGL to be used for. I don't know how we missed it for the past 23 years, okay? How did we miss Pathfinder? I don't know. How did we miss Mutants and Masterminds? We were out of the office that day. How did we miss all those companies that won awards that we didn't win, and all those, index card role-playing, Titanium, blah, blah, all these awards and accolades and articles. We weren't in the office that day. We did not know for the past 23 years people were using the OGL. We never intended it to be used that way. We need to protect you, and we need you to protect you because we don't want anybody making NFT money off of that OGL stuff in your product. We only want to make NFT money because, look, we just released the Power Rangers NFTs. It's exhausting. So, yeah, if you have any more comments, insight, anything you want to say about it, I think any tinfoil hat conspiracy you can come up with of how this is going to get worse, 80% is going to come true. So here's my predictions, since every predictions I made so far has come true in one way or another. 1, Jeremy Crawford, your days as head of D&D are over, because there's already a Help Wanted ad on the Wizards of the Coast site for somebody to take your job. 2, we won't see the new one for at least 3 months. 3, the new one will be filled with all sorts of bullshit stuff that nobody should sign because they're counting on us forgetting. 4, a lot of the people who abandon Wizards of the Coast and abandon D&D Beyond will come back to it because they'll forget. And if we don't remind them and don't keep that anger, they'll forget. And that's what Wizards, in the end, in closing, that's what they're counting on it. That we'll forget, or that we won't understand, or that people would just feel, I can't take them to court. I don't have the time. I don't have the money. They'll win, so why bother? They did it with 3 and 3.5. They did it with 4. They'll do it again. They'll just wait and hope we forget or misdirect us with another controversy. Somebody will find something in Island of the Seven Keys offensive, and then everybody else will jump on that person. You're an idiot for finding keys offensive, and then we'll forget about this. And then Wizards of the Coast will go, here's the new one. It's okay, right? We said all the words you wanted to say. We gave you what you wanted, right? Oh, God. That's way too much time invested in this topic. That's it for today. If you appreciate this nonsense, let me know. If you don't appreciate this nonsense, let me know. If you never want to hear me talk about this ever again, well, too bad, because it's going to be the #1 story for the year. I'm sorry. I told you guys it was going to be, and it is. Till next time, stay warm, stay dry, stay healthy, stay happy. Remember to buy my merch. Support the OGGM through the PayPal and the Super Chats and the Buy Me Coffee. Remember, this is my job. And now, so long, farewell, and Vita Zane, good night. Get off my land, you damn marks.